High school football coach fired for complaining about leftist curriculum in his daughter's school. Great. Fired the one high school coach in all of the country who actually pays attention to what's going on in the classroom. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we start in Massachusetts, where a beloved high school football coach has been fired after complaining that his daughter's 7th grade teacher was incorporating lessons on gender discrimination and politics in a simple geography class. No more. This is cultural geography, my friends. No more maps and atlases and mountain ranges and lakes and rivers. Geography now is fully woke all the time. It's all about the geography of different peoples, you see? Like black people are here because they were stolen out of Africa, that kind of thing. Refugees from Muslim countries are here because the West is too greedy and rich. This is what they're getting when they sign up for geography. You should be very aware of that, parents, mom and dads. But this guy, I mean, literally, in the school he coached at, his daughter was getting this. Thought that the kid had signed up for geography, was getting all of this anti-racism, anti-white nonsense, spoke out about it, and now he is out of a job.
And to be clear, he's the high school football coach, or was, since 2011. His name is David Flynn. And he was speaking out about his daughter's middle school geography class. It's not even like in the high school. I mean, it's the same district, but it was the 7th graders learning about this geography or whatnot. And so he had spoken out about it, which obviously is constitutionally protected. Yeah.
He's a dad.
He dared
with a daughter in the school.
Yes. So he dared to, use free speech, which isn't so free anymore. And so now all of a sudden he can't be the high school football coach, and he's been the football coach since 2011. Oh, and by the way, this was his school. This is his alma mater. He went to this school himself, but no, because he cares about his kids' education. Screw you.
This is also the school district that receives his share of property taxes from taxation. All right, this is all those things.
So now there's a federal lawsuit happening. And basically, as you kind of pointed out, it was the daughter's world geography and ancient history class. And some examples of kind of like what's been happening in the classroom. We don't have the exact examples, but things like this have been put in front of all of the children. The teacher had, I forgot what it's called, a memoji. It's kind of like an emoji, but it's them as their person. Yep. The teacher had a Black Lives Matter shirt on, like they put on themselves. And so they would sprinkle in all this stuff to, be culturally woke in this geography
that have
course.
Nothing to do with geography.
Had nothing to do with it. Because instead of talking about ancient history like Rome.
See, that could be a pretty, if you talked about the geography of the ancient world, that would be, I would have
South
loved
America
that.
Would be a good one.
Talking about the spread of the Roman Empire over 1,000 years and how many geographic places, I'd be all up for that.
When I taught 7th grade geography, we did talk about the Incans and the Mayans. We talked about some great things happening with slavery and all that down there too. But we can't talk about that now because it's all about Black Lives Matter here, 2021.
By the way, what does your memoji wear?
Probably an Argyle. If I have
My
one.
memoji is just got me wearing suspenders and nothing else.
Anyway, so according to this lawsuit, instead the instruction concerned issues, instead of the ancient civilizations we've been talking about, the instruction concerned issues of race, gender, stereotypes, prejudices, discrimination, and politics, among others. In one assignment, the plaintiff's daughter, again, Flynn, his daughter was asked to consider various risk factors and mitigating factors that two people, one identified as white and the other identified as black, purportedly might use to assess each other on a city street. How does that have anything to do with ancient civilizations? No.
Purely subjective.
There's brick.
Go back to the first clip you had up there, Mike. And look at this one. So, this is clearly how a stereotype gives rise to a prejudice, which gives rise to discrimination, right? That they're trying to teach little kids, and there's her little memoji, right? The implication is that you write some stereotypes in, and you talk about how those stereotypes graduate to prejudice and then discrimination. But you know what you could do very easily? The stereotype is against white people. White privilege, white supremacy, white people are rich, white people have wealth they didn't earn. Then you go, so what's the prejudice? Teaching kids like the kids in my classroom to hate white people is the prejudice. How does that lead to discrimination? Well, you just see an example of what would happen to one little girl's daddy. That's how stereotypes give rise to prejudice, give rise to discrimination, all being suffered by white people. One wonders if Little Miss Memoji would considering putting all white lives matter on a t-shirt. I sorta, kinda doubt it.
Yeah, answer no. But this is one example of how if you want to be a good parent and care about your kids' education and you want to be involved in their school district and you want to give back to the community and be, I don't know, the high school football coach because you get paid so much for that, this is an example of how you must bow down to the woke schools. Like, you must be one of them. Well, that's why they are everything in the schools now.
This is literally one dad that they had one thing they could use against him, and they use it against him. Most parents they can't do anything to, so they take it out on the kids. In this instance, poor guy is busting, like you said, mostly a volunteer position, busting his hump to spend all that time coaching the kids' football team, and it's the one thing they had against them, so they were going to use it.
Yeah, and what is it that the district said? What is the district's response and statement about all of this?
Him. In a letter sent to parents yesterday, the school district announced that David Flynn would no longer serve as head football coach for the high school. It's a role he served in annual appointments, but the school chose not to offer the position to him this year. In a statement, the superintendent said it was due to significant, repeatedly expressed philosophical differences with the direction, goals, and values of the school district. As a district, we actively try to encourage our staff and students to give constructive voice to their opinions, but must also ensure we stay true to our overarching mission and vision for the district.
Give me one example, school people, of how you actively court criticism. Please, I'll shut up. I'll apologize for everything I've said. I'll blame him and not you. If you can give me one example of how you actively seek criticism from parents and administrators and students, you don't. And you know it's a great big fat lie. So what you're basically saying in your non-statement is he disagreed with us, which we think is great, but we're not going to give him his job because he disagreed. So anyway, Judicial Watch, thank heaven for them. They filed a federal lawsuit on behalf of David Flynn, the father of the Dedham public school students, who was removed from this position as head football coach, simply for exercising his right as a citizen to raise concerns about his daughter's 7th grade history class curriculum. Judicial Watch is a pro bono organization. They're going to put the time and the effort in is to get him his job back. And I don't see how the school wins this, to tell you the truth. So good on you. And if don't roll over when schools try to do this about you and your kids. There's always somebody who's willing to help.
So we need to get really political now because we haven't been doing that ever. So let's get as political as we can. Follow along closely. We have a story of a gay white dad of a mixed race child. That dad wanted to have a spot on the San Francisco Board of Education's parent committee, but they said no because it would hurt diversity of the all-female group. Now, for 2 hours, it took them 2 whole hours to debate whether or not Seth Branzel, here he is, should be allowed to be a volunteer member of the committee. A volunteer member of this committee.
And for the record, he is a self-identified white gay man.
And his child is mixed race. Okay.
Not white, but mixed race. The child of an adoptive gay white man.
So, again, 2 hours, volunteer member of the committee, after the Parent Advisory Council had unanimously supported his joining the committee. So he had already gotten the A-OK, which I can't do the symbol because we're not allowed to, A-OK, to join the committee. And so then he had to submit his name for the official thing. And then they said no. His candidacy faced opposition from some of these board members and the members of the public who argued there wasn't enough diversity on the council, but there are 5 seats empty and they needed people. And so then it got real weird. If you're still following along, good for you. So those who opposed his candidacy said it was because he is white. So it always, no matter what your intersectionality comes down to, if there is whiteness anywhere in it, you're out.
And take a look at the committee. This is the committee that said his whiteness would ruin the diversity. The fact that he is gay and white, and the fact that he has multicultural children, that's not enough diversity for them, right?
For a parent committee.
For a parent committee, right? I guarantee you he would be the only white gay man on that committee.
Well, it's all females,
right,
so for that specific one, yeah.
So what we've got going on here is a situation where not only is his whiteness, but it's also his masculinity, being a man. Those two things run afoul of a committee that says that they need more diversity when they refuse the only real diversity that's offered.
Yeah, and the overall council, the big council, the 15-person council only has 10 members, right? And so they had 5 openings. And they had 2 black mothers, an Asian American, 3 Latinx, a Pacific Islander, and 3 whiteys. But I mean, those 3 whiteys, we're already,
you met your quota.
We way met the quota. We are over quoted. And according to the commissioner, Matt Alexander, who described himself as the lone white board member, said he seemed like the white members are overrepresented on the PAC. So they were talking about the specific committee, yeah. And that there was an underrepresentation of Arab, Vietnamese, Native American folks. So you're in San Francisco, I mean, you need to hit every potential group out there. I mean, did they have the aliens represented too?
San Francisco is like the gay mecca. You can't. Why wouldn't you want gay there? Or are some of the women gay?
We didn't get the rundown, and you know what? They can identify from day to day anyway. It doesn't matter.
They're being awfully they're not being very. What's what I'm looking for? They're being awfully discriminatory about the huge number of gay families in that community. If this guy's gayness doesn't matter for anything. Unless, of course, like we said, many of those other racial minorities are already gay themselves.
Well, anyone out there in San Francisco and the school board is looking for you if you're Arab, Vietnamese, Native American folks. Specifically. Now, according to Matt Alexander, the commissioner, he also said, I'm probably going to get complaints now. I'm telling white parents not to be involved or something. I want to be clear. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is.
And then he said this. White parents also in the city tend to have a lot of privilege and power and access the board of ed in various ways.
The fact that, you know what they're telling you? White people are the only ones who complain. White people are the ones who keep calling us. And that's not what we want. We don't want to hear from them, right? So, because white people are the ones who find ways to access us when there's a problem, and African American and Latina and Pacific Islander and Native Americans and Arab, they don't. That's privilege. Privilege is actually trying to hold your school accountable.
So far in today's show, we're 2 for 2 on white dads wanting to be involved in their kids' school.
And it's not enough to be a gay white dad.
Well, you may be asking yourself, sitting at home right now, what is a climate coach? I unfortunately have to tell you. The Los Angeles Unified School District Board of Education recently approved a plan that would cut 1/3 of its police budget. Okay? Where's that money going? Oh, don't you worry. It's to a program that focuses on black students' achievement. So the board actually voted to cut 133 school police positions from the Los Angeles School Police Department, including 70 sworn officers, 62 non-sworn officers, and 1 support staff member. This will reduce the budget of the district's police force from $77.5 million to just $52.5 million. Okay, again, you want to know what that climate coach is? I'm getting there. Police officers will be now stationed at all secondary schools, and they're going to be replaced, their positions overall, with these climate coaches. So here they are. They are trained to, according to this plan, to implement positive school culture and climate. They're going to use de-escalation strategies to resolve conflict, understand and address implicit bias, and eliminate racial disparity in school discipline practices.
We've seen that in Wisconsin. One of the reasons why Milwaukee schools are among the worst in the entire country is because a number of years back when we had President Obama as our train wreck president, he came up with the idea that the reason black kids were doing poorly is because, wait for it, teachers pick on them more than white kids. So since then, that grand proclamation without any real evidence behind it, the Milwaukee Public Schools stopped disciplining kids. These were the worst performing schools in the state, the ones where there were the most broken families, the most kids acting out. And now in the name of political correctness, you can't discipline them. So you've got 7 or 8 kids in each class causing a ruckus, fighting against the teacher, beating other kids up, being altogether disruptive. But you can't punish them now because to do so would be racist. Guess why Milwaukee Public Schools stay mired in the worst schools in all of Wisconsin?
Well, I don't have to guess. You just basically said it. But yes, now in LA, schools are not allowed to apply to keep their police officers on their campuses. Instead, the officers are going to be called on. They're going to be secondary now and be like, oh, we have an emergency down here. Hold on. Let me drive through LA traffic and get over to you.
So when your kid brings a knife to class, we're going to send in the conflict resolution game. Now,
climate coach.
Come on, Johnny. Let's sit down and coach this out.
The climate coach. They're saying the response time goal is 3 to 5 minutes. I haven't even driven in LA, and I've just heard horror stories about how the traffic is.
What they're going to do is they're going to have all built-in offices on campus for the climate changers, right?
Well, the climate coaches, but the real police.
Oh, the real police.
Sorry, did I call them real police?
Yeah, the real police aren't.
I'm not allowed to say that.
They can't possibly expect 3 to 5 minutes time.
Yeah, exactly. So this is all part, they say, of the $36.5 million Black Student Achievement Plan, the BSAP.
They're dedicated for just one group of failing kids.
It aims to provide supplemental services and support to 53 schools that have a large Black student population and high need indicators, such as lower than average math and English language arts proficiency rates, probably all of LA, higher than average referral and suspension rates, and higher than average chronic absenteeism. So this is just like, oh, yeah, let's just cancel all police departments and have social workers go out
because
there.
Because all those bad things are about racial injustice. The only reason this is happening is because, white people, to ask these parents to consider about, to teach these kids in this coaching system that maybe moms and dads should stay together, that maybe you shouldn't get pregnant without a father in the home, maybe you should get your high school degree before you have children. That's not going to be part of the conversation because that's white supremacy. I'm sure what's going to happen is they're going to sit these kids down and say, look, the reason you're angry, the reason you're beating kids up, the reasons you can't read are all because of white people. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to teach you the proper way to hate white people, and then all your problems will go away. This is literally the course that they've chosen.
Yes, it is, unfortunately.
Wait, I use the word literally. Got to stop doing that.
Literally.
This is actually the course that they chose.
So with these police cuts, you add in $30.1 million for improving school climate and reducing over-identification of Black students in suspensions and discipline actions, $4.4 million to implement academic changes, such as addressing more Black authors into the school curricula.
Yes.
How does
for
it
kids
cost...
who can't read. we're gonna fix this. You Black kids in these schools, you can't read. We're going to have you read more Black books by Black authors. That's the answer.
Derek Zoolander. If you get that reference,
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about. Now, how does it cost you $4.4 million to get more Black authors in the classroom? How does it cost $4.4 million? The kids don't read books to begin with. So why would you even, it's not, you're spending that on books. $4.4 million?
You're actually having to hire people to read books by Black authors to Black students who can't read them for themselves. Maybe that's what it is.
For kids who can't read well. And they're going to spend also $2 million for community partnership.
Well, that's good.
We're going to do that. Now, Superintendent Austin Beutner, we've talked about him before, says we've been systematically failing Black children as a country. Schools must be a part of the solution because a great education is the most important part of the path out of poverty.
You know what? Why is it that all these failing schools always have white superintendents and white principals?
Named Austin.
Maybe you just fire the white people in charge. How about that? Maybe once make liberals pay for their own rhetoric. If white people are the problem, you're a pasty white superintendent, you got to go, buddy. You should retire before we fire you. You just got through saying that a lot of our kids' problems are racial. And so we got to get rid of the white influence. What better way to start with the superintendent? What better way to start than getting rid of all the white principals? What better way to start than driving some of those white teachers out and replacing them with any Black person with a pulse? Because that seems to be your criterion.
time for some real education. This week, it's all about Dr. Seuss. And in the words of Dr. Duke, here's Dr. Seuss.
Last week they went after Shakespeare. Now they're coming after Dr. Seuss for no good reason. We're dedicating the whole week of instant classics, and I'm going to read you my poem again. Are you ready? They may can him and pan him, but the tykes always know that silly old Seuss is a friend on the go. You can twist him in knots and lie about his plots, or cancel his sneeches like race-baiting beaches. But Seuss will endure, despite race pimps for sure. So if truth's what you seek, join us for Seuss all this week. Here's our quote from Dr. Seuss this week. This is the kind of thing that progressives say now is too white and too racist for your kids to hear it. When you think things are bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, ducky, you're really quite lucky. Some people are much more, oh ever so much more, oh muchly much more unlucky than you. Now, you know why the progressives hate this kind of stuff? Because only black kids are allowed to be unlucky. Only black kids are unhappy. Only black kids are victimized. See, what Seuss is doing is bucking these kids up. Hey, somewhere, even if you are black, someone's suffering more than you. To ask African-American kids to think that there may be greater suffering in the world than to be black in America is, of course, white racism. And that's why Dr. Seuss and everyone like him has to be booted immediately, right now.
All right, well, just a quick reminder to please download our brand new Freedom Project Media app. We've got a lot of great content available, including 17 new weekly shows. All you have to do is download the Freedom Project app in your app store and make sure you allow for those notifications to be seen. And if you're a fan of the show, please consider a one-time tax-deductible donation to support our little Patriot Club, and we're going to send you a signature tumbler as our little thank you. Visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. That's patriotclub.us. Now, we want to take a moment to show some of the love we have for our Patriot Club members, and today we're giving a shout out to David from Ottawa, Kansas. David, thank you for supporting us.
And thank you for being the Ottawa in Kansas, not the one in Canada. And that wraps up this show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.